do-gooders. Are they well-intentioned, or are they just interfering idiots that haven't got a clue in what they're actually doing and the repercussions? I'll give you an example. There was a migrant who was an asylum seeker, and he failed his asylum. Basically, they were sending him back, and they booked a flight from Southampton to send him back. Now, it seems that the Air France crew decided to get involved at this point because they thought he was being mistreated, and they thought his hands had been broken, or his wrist, or whatever it was. Anyway, they made sure that they stopped him being deported, and it seems that there was then an investigation into his handlers to see if they'd actually committed an assault. Meanwhile, at some point later, after this cabin crew had stopped the due process of this bloke being returned, he then went and raped, I think it was a 15-year-old girl. That's impressive. Now, obviously, the guy is now looking at a life sentence, which we're going to have to pay for, but that is a drop in the ocean, or that's completely irrelevant in comparison to this 15-year-old girl has now been subject to A, rape, B, I don't know what's going to do to her mental health. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty strong person to get over that and unbox it and basically be able to deal with it so you can go on about your life. I mean, many people never get over this. But I want to know that, what do these do-gooders think about their actions? Do they still believe in what they were doing? Do they think this is just a random one-off, given the fact that the numbers of rape by asylum seekers, migrants and people like that is gone through the roof? I think that these people are a danger to our society. I mean, if they're willing to break the law to come into the country, you're probably going to be willing to break many of the laws while you're in the country. And if you're willing to lie, and the latest thing, I mean now, because what they're saying is, they try the human rights thing, that you can't send me back because otherwise I'll be a victim of whatever it is, and they'll come out with their reasons. And under the Human Rights Act, and they'll go through all these different processes to say that you're going against my human rights, and therefore you have to keep me. The latest one is getting that absolute weapon, Justin Welby, to make out that they've now converted to Christianity, and if it's an Islamic country, that they'll then be sentenced to death if sent back. Quite ingenious. However, nobody's fooled that these people are any more Christian than this MAN truck is reliable. Okay? Sorry, MAN, it's a fact. They're shit. But going on, there's going to be a lot more of these weaponized morons that go around thinking that they're doing the right thing. There are many people that go around, say for instance, in the animal protection things, say for instance, they don't like the culling of animals or whatever. But what do these animals, what sort of effect do they have on livestock? Could they wipe out an entire herd of animals if they go and spread stuff through them? You know, there is an action stroke reaction to everything, and even though it tugs on your heartstrings, okay, and it makes you feel bad that, oh, somebody's having a hard time, or they're not getting what they wanted, or oh, poor him, or poor animal, whatever. What's the bigger picture? And these are the things that, like, say for instance, the left, and I'm going to use this left-right just because it is there's good and evil, but we'll use left and right for now. All right, there's a lot of people on the left that want to do the right thing. They're fluffy, they're pretty, they like art, they're all sort of all wishy-washy kind of shit, right? And they think that, you know, everybody should be able to live in a world together in beautifulness. It don't work, and it ain't like that. The dream that you're trying to live will end up turning into a nightmare for you and everybody else. You might not be the person that falls victim to, say for instance, some of your stupidity, or at least not immediately anyway, but there'll be some innocent person walking down the street that will end up being a victim of, say for instance, GBH, ABH, knife attack, rape, theft, all sorts of other things that these people seem to bring into our country in abundance. Now, a lot of people go, you're a racist. Who cares what you think? You know, your opinions are absolutely irrelevant now. But what the facts are is, look at the numbers. And these numbers are also slightly manipulated because, hey, you don't want the British public knowing just exactly what danger they're at the moment, just wandering around, say for instance, an average city. Now, there are a lot of people that suggested that they shouldn't go out at night because it's not safe. Well, this wasn't always the case. And it certainly wasn't the case anywhere near the level it is now before we started to adopt mass migration. Incidentally, we weren't asked. But why would we be asked? Because our answer would have been no. Now, there's many reasons they're flooding this country full of these charming individuals. One, because they believe that these people will vote for them. Secondly, they believe that they can then borrow money upon their head. Thirdly, they get cheap labour. Fourthly, they're actually trying to change the demographic of this country. Why? You'd have to ask them. And they actually want to collapse our economy, and these things are a Trojan horse to do just that. Many of them will live on benefits, many of them won't work, many of them will turn to crime, many of them will do all sorts of stuff, but exactly that they were meant to come here for. So it is what it is. Hello, my son. One of the other lorry drivers going past. So what we've got to put up with at the moment, well, we don't have to put up with it, but we will, because that's what we do, we're British, is the ramping up of migration, the ramping up of all the other things that go with it, until at one point or another, those who don't believe in what we believe in will finally twig, whether it be one of their family or themselves that were the victim of said crime, or whether it's the fact that they can't carry on lying to themselves. There will come a time where they can't, they literally, you know, it would be like, hang on, no, I can't say that because that's too spicy. It's just like, you just can't, you can't lie to yourself. I think you probably knew where I was going with that one. You just simply can't do it anymore. And you can't actually say that, oh, I just thought I was doing the right thing. Because that will have died. That will have gone. And at which point, we're all going to judge you. Like you did us. But we'll judge you for your fucking stupidity, your ignorance, your arrogance, your breathtaking fucking gormlessness, and also your complicity, that when you actually finally twigged on what was going on, you still went on with it because you wanted to look good in front of other people. What you didn't realise is that there was a massive swathe of the public looking at you for the cunt you were. We looked upon you as an absolute loathsome, low moral, low IQ, fickle, narcissistic, sociopathic cunt. Yes. And there were loads more things, but if I'd have gone on naming all of the different things that you actually are, I could have been here till doomsday comes round again, if there is one. Whatever. Probably fucked up there. However, you get the idea. Now, unfortunately, going forward, and eventually the newspapers will, when they work out, you know, basically where their bread's best buttered, they'll start reporting on this stuff, and at which point we will have bad times. End of our society. And that's part of the plan, by the way. And then when that happens, that's when they bring about as many draconian rules as they can to stop us moving around, speaking to other people. It'll be like Russia. These 15-minute cities have got nothing to do with saving the planet and fuel economy and all the rest of it, and everything to do with herding groups into areas and keeping them there so that they can make sure that we're monitored and we can't affect anything. And they think that will work. These morons actually believe that they'll be able to pen us up like sheep for long periods, or forever, and that we'll go along with it. But unfortunately, they haven't seemed to taken any notice of history in the past. Where people did this, it didn't go on forever. It never has. They've never worked this out so that the groups could be just compliant little slaves. Now, they're not far off it, I've got to be honest. You think about all these different taxes you pay and all these things that you're allowed or not allowed to do depending on these people. And this leads me on to another subject. Say, for instance, the next level of stupidity when it comes to the green agenda. They're going on to the next eco whatever engine. I don't know what one we're on at the moment, because I frankly couldn't give a fuck. But they're going to go on to the next level, and this will take into account electric vehicles. So they're going to now start getting hit with these green taxes. Imagine how these green vehicles people, I mean, you bought yourself one and it turned into an absolute lemon, and now you can't resell it. Nobody wants to do a deal with you, and you've got to keep hold of it until the battery craps out, and at which point it becomes a throwaway item, much like a phone that becomes redundant. And there's a lot of people that are now twigging this. But not just that, you thought you were going to circumnavigate lots of different taxes because, hey, you'd done the right thing, right? Well, at least in your mind you had. Some of us were a bit more wired up, right? But now they're realising that not only have they got themselves a lemon, which costs fuckloads to fucking insure, fuckloads to run, but they're now going to get taxed because there'll be a braking tax, a tyre tax. And they'll work out that, say, for instance, things like electric motors have a lot more torque. And that has a more adverse effect on tyres. Not just that, say for instance you've got yourself a bus. Well, a double-decker bus and a single-decker bus, obviously way different because one's bigger than the other. But the new battery-powered single-deckers weigh at least the same as a double-decker. So you've got the extra wear and tear, the extra rubber, the extra braking, the charging. And none of this greenhouse bullshit works because the amount of CO2 or whatever you want to call it that went into building that vehicle will never ever be reclaimed back. So we're just being sold a load of shit. But as I say, they will put more and more people into these electric vehicles, which will turn out to be a wonky donkey. And a lot of people are going to end up wasting a lot of good money on vehicles that will become pretty much useless. And a lot of people didn't realise, as I say, they were buying vehicles that were throwaway. They thought they'd keep them for a while, resell them for a decent price and just keep doing this. And they've worked out that they can't sell it back to the dealership because these things keep being superseded, so they're not wanted. And nobody's buying these bastards. So that also means that basically, like Tesla are laying off X amount of percentage of their workforce. And it's not going very well, is it? But there you go. Anyway, I'm going to do a video in a bit about mental health and obviously the medication, the supply and demand, because apparently there is a problem with supply and demand. And this is worrying a lot of people with medication problems or need medication. So that's another video. Anyway, I've gone on long enough. I'll speak to you in a bit.
If you like the content I'm making and you want to support my work, here's a few links in the description, but only if you can afford it. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.